Savage.
So Cowboy Bebop got canceled. Oh, God. A lot of people have been asking about my thoughts, my opinion on this. So I'm going to try to give my unfettered, sort of maybe even rambly opinion on this. All right, I'm just going to throw this out. I'm not really going to edit it. I have been one of the more vocal supporters of the project from conception to production to the first trailer, and then even when the product came out. And the product came out, and there was a lot of people that liked it, like myself, and I did truly enjoy it. It's not like I was paid by Netflix or anything to say that I liked it. I wasn't. I actually did enjoy it. I even said it wasn't perfect, but that there are a lot of things for fans to enjoy, and that there would be things that I knew that Twitter would have a field day with, but Twitter went nuts, right? Very large vocal majority of people just bombing it. People that I'm sure probably didn't even watch the product. You know, I saw a bunch of clips circulated taking, the worst moments, right, out of context, sharing them around. And of course, because it's Twitter, those are the things that get shared across more than anything that was, positive in it. How about a glowing clip of Mustafa Shakira's Jet doing a perfect, impression of the voice actor from the anime, right? Like that should have been what was being shared around. Like, hey, look, this guy is great. But no, Twitter is, it's Mos Eisley. Like I said, it wasn't perfect, okay? But it should have had an opportunity to have a season 2, to kind of work out any kinks to get there. Like, everything with Spike, Jet, and Faye together, their chemistry, I believed, was excellent. Was it entirely the characters to a T? Not necessarily. Mustafa Shakir, sure. Daniela Pineda was doing her own thing with Faye, but I really liked it. Some people didn't. Some people did. I was one of the people that did. I think that she was an electrifying presence on screen, and her and John Cho together, especially in episode 5, was funny. It was good. It was a lot of fun. She was one of the emotional cores of the show for Chrissy and I when we were watching, particularly in episode 4, which was my favorite, the one with the eco-terrorists, where they were going full Don Cheadle time and going, extra green on them and turning everybody into trees, like the Captain Planet sketch from Funny or Die.
Captain?
Human tree!
Captain Planet, stop right now!
In the anime, it was monkeys, but because of the Don Cheadle sketch, I really liked that they did turn them into trees. That was a great episode. One of the good things that they did was introduce Faye earlier, but, on the opposite side of that, her introduction in the anime was better by, being at the casino, so I did miss that, having her appear as a bounty hunter right away. There's a good side and a downside to that. Having her then disappear for 2 episodes was a downside, because I felt like episodes 2 and 3 were some of the weakest ones. 2 was a setup episode, trying to build this new lore that they were creating, because they were taking a bunch of side characters and giving them more to do, but a lot of that stuff felt like a completely different show at times. As it got towards the end of the season and things started to meld, then everything started to, go together. And I could see the trajectory in season 2 actually being the culmination of all of that melding. But unfortunately, we'll never see that, and it's never going to get there.
Savage.
The Vicious and Julia stuff didn't work for me until like some of the last couple of episodes. And I think that that's an issue that you have when you have characters that are so ingrained and tied to other characters, but they're not having scenes with those characters. it just creates this sort of disjointed thing, and that worked in the anime because it was more of a mystery, right? Especially with Vicious, and I do truly believe that Vicious is he's the one person in the cast I would have recast. I would have gotten someone that was actually more proficient in martial arts and made him more of a mystery. The anime, it's operates on sort of this nebulousness with a lot of things. It's hard to explain, but I mean, I think that anybody that's watched Cowboy Bebop sort of understands what I mean by that, right? When you're watching it for the first time, you don't necessarily know what you're getting until you get to like episode 5, Ballad of Fallen Angels, and you understand that there's a little more to Spike. Okay, so we're exploring this and all that, but until you get there, you're like, what am I watching? Is this just a procedural bounty of the week, type thing? And you sort of get that to a point in the pilot, but then by introducing us to Vicious right away, which is a storytelling technique in live action format, it's like there's only a certain attention span that a viewer has if they're not introduced to a villain. And so that's kind of what they're doing here, and they also have to have something to, pacing wise, go back and forth from Spike, Jet, and Faye. So creating this new life, this new world for Vicious and Julia, that's what they were doing. One of my favorite things that the live action did do was give Jet a family, right? So they took the character of Elisa from Ganymede Elegy, who had a very small role in Jet's past, and expanded upon that. Now Jet has a daughter, right? So then he now has this thing that he can, draw from throughout the season, and then the daughter becomes a plot device at the end of the series. So that was good stuff. There were plenty of changes that made sense, that worked. My least favorite episode was episode 6. Anybody that was bombing the show on Twitter probably didn't even make it this far to begin with. But this was an episode that was based off of the episode, I think it's called Brain Games. And why I don't like this particular episode is because I'm just not a big fan of star-crossed lovers meeting in simulations or dreams, right? So while I am a fan of episodes like Perchance to Dream and Batman the Animated Series, where it dives into Bruce Wayne's mind as Mad Hatter is controlling him, and he's, having this fantasy of his past and all of this, and it's all very well done there. I think that this sort of was a misstep, right? And this would have been a better season 2 episode, right? It's just the timing of it was wrong. It would have been better after Spike and Julie had already met. And then it could have been used to explore a lot of questions between their past after we already sort of have some basis there, right? And it's also just from, my background as an actor as well. It just sucks when you have a scene with an actor and it's supposed to feel real, but it's not real. So then you have to fabricate that once again later on whenever you really do meet that person. And that could also be disjointed because they could have very easily shot the stuff in the season finale, aka the series finale, before they even shot this stuff. But based on the way everything went, I don't think that they did. And because it's like once they shot this stuff with Julia, I think that's when things started to click for Elena Satine even more, and she started to get where the show was going with things, and I just felt she was more like Julia after that episode. Not necessarily during, but certainly after. And that's the exciting thing for as you progress into these other seasons. Most people know I'm a DC fanboy. I just made a Batman reference earlier, but you take the CW shows like Arrow, right? Arrow kind of sucked until halfway through the first season. Then it got good, and it had a great, fantastic couple of seasons after that. And that's sort of how these things go, right? You take a bunch of episodes, you find your footing, the crew is sort of understanding everything, the cast is sort of understanding everything, and eventually things sort of make sense. But sometimes you need to oil those things out, and you need to get to that point, unfortunately. We wish that these things would just happen like this, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, right? If Arrow didn't iron out all of that stuff, the first season of The Flash wouldn't have been as good as it was in the CW. Because it learned from the mistakes that Arrow had done. This, for all intents and purposes, is the very first live-action adaptation in America for television. Okay? So this was working out the kinks for future adaptations, and now it can't do that. So now, unfortunately, One Piece has to pick up the slack here and work out the kinks for other future adaptations. And that is a slack that we really shouldn't have afforded it. Now, technically, Cowboy Bebop did work out some kinks for One Piece, and I think that this will be a learning tool for Tomorrow Studios and for the crew at One Piece to sort of say, okay, well, we can't go about this way. They will probably alter the way that they approach social media, when it comes, time for, One Piece to release and all of that. Netflix, at the end of the day, does not define themselves as a production studio. They're a tech company, more than anything. So they follow algorithms, and that sometimes does not benefit people with the, the best possible product, because they want to check certain boxes here and there, hoping that that's not going to influence, the One Piece live action in the way that, it did influence Cowboy Bebop in some instances. But with everybody involved with the One Piece live action, and especially with Oda's involvement and everything like that, I think that they're going to hopefully follow things a little more to the book, and that would just be to the benefit of everybody involved. Now, that doesn't mean make everything one-to-one, because it can't be and it shouldn't be. But for everybody that bombed Cowboy Bebop, okay, yes. Did it have some bad moments? Sure did. Did it have some great moments? Yeah, and you should talk about those too. But don't do that with One Piece, okay? Let it at least get a season 2, because if you are a One Piece fan, all right, as most people watching this will be, you know that it's going to take until about episode 7 or 8 of the first season for it to catch people to begin with. Once they get to Arlong Park or, Baratier and all of that, that's when people are going to understand that this series has a little more to it, right? If they find some way to, maybe switch Syrup Village up a little bit so that it's a little more engaging, maybe that'll help as well. I'm hoping that it catches people right away. And there are elements, right? I mean, I was technically caught right away by chapter 5, but then that's only because I read chapter 5 first. That was my introduction to One Piece. Chapter 1 is good enough as its own to catch people. It's going to take most people until they get to Alabasta really to say oh, I'm really feeling this show. And if they don't get to Alabasta, then we're never going to see Enies Lobby, Water 7, CP9. I want to see the show make it to Wano and beyond and get to the end. And that's only going to come with us supporting it and believing that as it continues, it's going to continue to work out any possible kinks and just grow and get better. So People need to trust the process. Hollywood's not going to stop making live action adaptations just because we say that they're bad because we don't like things that are different. They're going to keep trying to work at it because business, money, etc. It's viable. There were a million bad superhero movies and TV movies and et cetera, before they made good ones. They had to work the kinks out. The kinks have been worked out. Obviously. Everybody is going, in a couple of weeks here, or actually a week, everybody in the United States is probably going to watch No Way Home, right? Because they've worked the kinks out and everybody is expecting the film to be fantastic. So that's where we are with this. This is a brand new age. And at least Tomorrow Studios had the foresight to understand that you can't make Cowboy Bebop a movie. You should make it a television show and let things breathe and grow and sort of sit in that nebulousness. And they're doing the right thing with One Piece, because that is definitely a story that you cannot compress into 2 hours. So, I am sad that Cowboy Bebop got canceled, because I wanted to see where it went. I wanted to see episodes like Waltz for Venus adapted. Maybe they could have stretched Rocco out over a couple of episodes. I thought he was a great character, very compelling. That would have been something interesting to see. But we're not ever going to see that. Thank you, Twitter, and critics. Look at the comic fans, the superhero movie fans, right? They don't expect when they go and see a Spider-Man movie, a Batman movie, or anything like that, that they are going to get a one-to-one adaptation of XYZ, the comic book. They know that it's going to be an adaptation, all right? Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises. I don't even think that they're very good Batman movies, Then, it's blasphemous for me to say I worked on The Dark Knight Rises. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie. The Bane quote, it's a well-written movie. The Bane quotes are amazing. But it's still Christopher Nolan's vision of Batman. And Christopher Nolan has a different vision for Batman than I have. It's not my version, right? But they're still good films. It's an adaptation. It's Christopher Nolan's Batman, right? When we get these anime adaptations, they are, in most cases, the director or the showrunner's vision of that show. And in the case of Cowboy Bebop, there were actual fans involved. You can see that as you're watching the show, the homages, the one-to-ones, the fact that, the composer from the anime, Yoko, is involved, right? There were a lot of things that were done to appease fans of the original product, and it was new ground. And we just needed to let them walk on that ground, even if the ice was breaking, until they got to the other side eventually. But Twitter be Twitter, critics be critics. Cut a little hole in the ice and let them fall. So, don't do it with One Piece, please. All right? I want to see it grow. I want these stories to be shared with the people that unfortunately, may not like animation, may not be able to connect with animation, but they are able to connect with people. There are people out there that are like that. They can't watch cartoons because they're unable to connect with a drawing, unfortunately, right? They're not able to connect with the page, but they're able to connect with a person that they actually see. Okay? And it's not up to us to gatekeep these stories and these products from those people. All right?
Oh, but this is the product. This is the way that it is. The best version is the manga. The best version is the anime, and they should watch this.
The truth is that they're just not most of the time. But they are going to turn on Netflix or Amazon or HBO or whatever, and they'll watch it there. So, either just... This stuff is, like I said before, this stuff is going to happen either way. All right. So the more that we allow it to continue, right? Voice your concerns. Absolutely. I'm not saying let them get away with everything. No. If something is being done wrong, call it out. All right? A lot of criticism was warranted for Cowboy Bebop. All right? Some of it went too far. A lot of it. But criticize correctly. You know? Make it constructive. Make it productive. And I think that didn't happen here. You know, we want it to be constructive. We want them to make a better product. So, I don't know. Am I making sense? You know, don't let them get away with everything. But at least let them continue to try to get it right. Let them have a season 2. A season 2. If they haven't gotten it by the end of season 2 or season 3, then yes, they're probably not going to. All right? But not all of the kinks are going to be worked out in a season 1 for most shows. Some shows get it right away. Most don't. But I'm going to end this here. This is for all the people that wanted to hear my thoughts, my ramble. And yeah, I'm not really editing this. I'm just going to throw it out. And thank you so much. Stay tuned for more content. And I will see everybody real soon. Later.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.